All right, welcome to the Let It Fly show. I am Michael Severe. My partner, Josh Jones, is off again this week. We are live inside of the Let It Fly Sports Bar in the beautiful Capital District in downtown Omaha. Two of the locations, of course, of Let It Fly. You get Let It Fly La Vista, which is inside the Capital area right there. You know, it's called City Center is where that is. And then out west, you have Let It Fly West as well. But we are here in the downtown one where you get an elevated sports bar experience. It's the food, it's the TVs, it's the chairs, it's everything designed for a great viewing experience. If you haven't been here yet, definitely make your way downtown before going to an event or just swing by and grab some lunch as well. Speaking of that, great specials. You're looking for a happy hour, 3 to 6. Reduced prices on some drinks, reduced prices on some foods as well. And then, of course, they have reverse happy hour, which is from 10 to 1 a.m. with the same deal as well. And specials every single night. We're taping this on a Wednesday. Tonight, on this Wednesday where we're taping, you have Dollar Wing Wednesday, and every day there is a special. And thank you very much to Bud Light, our presenting sponsor for the Let It Fly show, making it easy to drink and easy to enjoy, no matter where you are, no matter what you're watching, no matter what you're checking out. Easy to drink and easy to enjoy. Coming up on the show, we're in the middle of all this college basketball, taping on a Wednesday, meaning that Nebraska lost the night before on Tuesday night to Purdue. Creighton came back against Seton Hall this weekend, and so we'll talk about all that with Jacob Padilla. I always want to say Padilla because I lived in New Mexico. Jacob Padilla, who is from Herd at Sports, covers all of the basketball, high school basketball, college basketball, all of that. So we'll chat with him and get his thoughts on Nebraska and where they're headed towards the tournament and what's going on with Creighton and where they might be able to get to in a postseason, and then what happens next year with a lot of the guys coming back and seeing if they can get everything turned around. That's Jacob Padilla coming up. But before we do that, let's do some headlines. We mentioned Nebraska basketball. That game had more ebbs and flows than any game I remember, I think, ever. I mean, 14-1 to start. Purdue was leading over Nebraska. They had a little run in the second part of the first half, but then what happens? Back comes Purdue. They have the lead at halftime. So you think, okay, Nebraska's going to come out after the halftime, and they're going to, they're be motivated, be fired up. First possession, they turn the ball over, and then all of a sudden they're down 6 more. So they're down to 22, right? Just like that. They get down to where they're down 24 in the game. I'm sure many people at that point thought, okay, this game is over. But the Huskers then come back and go on a hell of a run after the 22-point lead deficit. They get all the way to 5. You got 6:28 left. And then in 4 minutes, all of a sudden the lead's back at 14. So at this point, for sure, and I was listening both on TV and radio to Kent and Kevin Kugler as well with Bill Raftery, and you're like, okay, it's over now. This is it. There's no way. Then 10-zip the run that Nebraska goes on. Now they're only down 4 with 35 seconds to go. All Purdue has to do is make their free throws, and it's probably over. They miss their free throws. Nebraska comes down, makes big shots, gets the game tied on a and one with Rink Mass, and Rink goes to the free throw line and misses the shot, the free throw, that would have put them up 1. Braden Smith misses the shot at the buzzer. We go into overtime. Again, the comeback, the huge comeback. You're thinking, okay, they're at home. The crowd's going nuts. You're going to get a good start in overtime. Nebraska doesn't get to a good start in overtime either. But, as I mentioned, ebbs and flows. They come back. It's then 77-75. Nebraska has the lead. They actually have a 3-point shot from Hoiberg when they're up 1. That would have made it 4. Game's probably over at that point. A little bit long. He misses that. And then, of course, you have the slip with 4.1 seconds left after the and one by Purdue. And, Lawrence falls on the wet spot. And then you come back the other way and you get the one chance at the end. You overthrow it. But Nebraska showed incredible guts, incredible grit to come back and be a part of that. Listen to what they were going against. So Purdue had 21 offensive rebounds in the game, 17 second chance points. 6 of those were in overtime. Nebraska had 14 turnovers. Nebraska doesn't turn the ball over. That's the most they've had all season long. That led to 19 Purdue points. So in the end, Purdue had 18 additional possessions, 17 more shots. They had a 14-point overall advantage in second chance points and turnovers. And all that said, Nebraska lost the game by 3 and had a chance to win it at the end. It's truly Incredible. Coming up next, Northwestern. That game is on Saturday. The good news for Nebraska is you had the loss by Illinois. So now you have 4 teams, all with 3 losses in the Big Ten. Illinois has 1 extra game played, but you have that. Of course, Michigan is on the top, but you still have that chance to get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Of course, you got the 2 games coming up as well in Iowa, and we'll talk more about that with Jacob Padilla when he comes up after we do headlines. Creighton basketball, the rally they had against Seton Hall, when you're sitting at a situation where you go on a run, and that's what Creighton did. They scored 6 straight points. They get the game to 4. And then the other team comes back, and within 40 seconds, they have then also scored 6 points, and it's back to 10, and there's under 2 minutes left. At that point, you're like, okay, we're probably going to lose this game. Then Isaac Trout hits a big shot. Josh Dix hits a big shot. All of a sudden, over the last 135, Creighton scores 10 points, and Seton Hall scores 1. You just don't see that happen. It never happens that way, and end up getting the win at the end on an amazing shot to end the game, to close it out. And now I know it doesn't mean that Creighton's going to be any closer to going to the tournament, but you had the 3 straight losses. You get that win. At least it gives you a bit of a motivation. You got DePaul up next. You do have, just over the other side of the hill, you've got back-to-back road games with UConn and St. John's. That's not going to be great, but obviously putting themselves in a chance to play some postseason, whether it's maybe the Crown. We'll find out more about that from Jacob, and then also maybe the NIT or some place to continue to play, because a lot of these guys for Nebraska are coming back for Creighton are coming back next year. Husker Spring game, 11 a.m., March 28th, red-white scrimmage, back for a normal game. Practice starts on the 21st, so that's just, it's just less than a week, about a week away for that to happen. You can start buying tickets noon on February 19th on Husker.com if you want to get your tickets to go to the East-West, whether the East or West stadiums for the lowest seating area. Then there's a little bit more expensive if you want to sit in the Cubs seats. The thing about it is, whenever Nebraska has a new quarterback who is during spring, you normally get a pretty good crowd. And having Anthony Calandria in there and wanting to see what he can do, wanting to see the new offensive linemen, new defensive linemen, everybody, linebackers, a lot of those guys, I could expect a pretty good crowd for Nebraska in that spring game. And last thing before we get to Jacob Padilla, the Bill Moos book came out, of course, and there were a bunch of parts in it that helped you understand the dysfunction that was going on at the administrative level down to the coaching level and what was happening with the football program. 4 different little things. 1, the fact that Chip Kelly was the guy after firing, Riley gets fired. Who's the coach going to be? You're still waiting on what's going to happen with Scott Frost as he's with UCF and they're going on this run. He interviews Chip Kelly, wants Chip Kelly to be the coach. I think that's an incredible what if. I love the what ifs. The what if Dana Altman gets hired. Of course, that got squashed by Jim Pillen, who was then a regent. That would have been an incredible what if. What happens with that? How does Creighton handle it, having their former coach at Nebraska? How does Nebraska handle having a former Creighton coach? Would have been incredible. Another thing, the fact that they gave Scott Frost an extension and didn't even speak to the athletic director. The athletic director's responsibilities is to hire coaches, basically manage the budget as well, right? Help with the scheduling, all that stuff. And for the chancellor to decide that he was going to make this and give the extension and not consult with the AD is incredible. And then the 4th thing, out of all the things that are in the book that I thought were pretty incredible, the idea that we knew the Oklahoma game was being talked about for being canceled, right? And so that team would be better in 2019, have a good chance. Crazy part about it is, the reason why it wasn't canceled, based off of Bill Moos's book, is that he was then working in 2020 to get the schedule put together, right? The Big Ten doesn't want to have a schedule because they're worried about COVID. He starts looking at the Big 12 to go back. And so the thought was, if they cancel the Oklahoma game, think about this, they canceled Oklahoma game, that would hurt their chance to go back to the Big 12, which they never were going to go back, right? But the fact that it was there and out there and that Bill Moos was trying to get it to happen is just, It's a fascinating book with a lot of fascinating things. It really shows how dysfunctional Nebraska football and the organization around it has been over the last few years. Take a break. We come back. We will chat with Jacob Padilla about Nebraska, Creighton basketball, some spring football, and more here on Let It Fly Show. All right, welcome back to the Let It Fly Show. We are joined now by this week's guest from Herd at Sports. Jacob Padilla is joining us here to talk about some basketball and more. How you doing?
Doing all right. It's definitely basketball season, a lot going on.
There's a lot of basketball
going
on.
It all.
Yeah. Before we get to basketball, though, because the Bill Moos stuff was everywhere, the main thing I want to ask you about is, because you grew up here, you were a fan of primarily Creighton as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Nebraska football, too. Just normal family just cheering for whatever local and so that. So
What about basketball-wise?
Basketball, definitely Creighton.
Definitely Creighton, okay.
Yeah, my mom got season tickets when she was at work when I was in the mid-2000s, so that's kind of where it started.
So what do you think the reaction would have been? First of all, what would Creighton fans have thought if Dana Altman got hired at Nebraska? And what do you think Nebraska fans would have thought of if that would have happened?
That definitely would have been wild. That's something that's been rumored.
Yeah, we talked about it.
A lot of Nebraska fans have talked about it. There's, I'm glad for all parties that they went a different direction, just so it can be like Dana going off to Oregon.
Sure.
Obviously, Creighton's had the multiple games against Oregon in the last few years now, so that's kind of brought that back up, and obviously played them right away in the postseason tournament that year. But
CTI, CBI, which one was it they played in?
I can never remember.
That was the new courts, backcourt. We couldn't tell.
Yeah, Antoine Young stepping on the line. That was
a weird game.
Very much so. But so I think I don't know that anybody would have handled it great. Particularly, I mean, how would it have gone at that point? If it hadn't gone well, Creighton fans probably would have enjoyed it. Kind of double agent Dana Altman there. Definitely wouldn't have been handled well on Nebraska's side. So I don't know. I think it's best for all parties involved that they didn't go that direction.
Sure.
Although the kind of the staunch putting the foot down on it. No, you can't do this.
And Regent and Pillin doing it. Yeah.
Yes, and then the kind of victory lap showing the scores. That
was so silly.
Yeah,
the funny thing about it is so I remember meeting Dana. God, it probably was 2004, maybe even earlier. I was at Channel 7. And I know that because of his parents, or one of his parents had Alzheimer's, and I know that there was some talk about him always wanting to get back to Nebraska. Yeah. So it would have been an easy explanation if they would have hired him. And for Creighton fans to be like, look, I'm trying to get back home close to my family. Yeah. It wouldn't have been that complicated.
Yeah, no, it just would have been really weird for Creighton fans. Obviously, the one-off, you played them just once with Oregon, but what they're doing is way off in the distance. So it's easy to kind of put that aside and just remember the good times with Dana and what he accomplished for the program. Obviously, you still only play Nebraska once a year, but
it's
being
one
that
of the
much
biggest
closer
games of the season.
And obviously the rivalry there, Creighton fans don't care about Oregon outside of the games they played. So, I don't think anybody would have handled it well.
Okay.
It would have been really, really strange for Creighton fans. I know that with the rivalry between Creighton and Nebraska and all that. It just would have been really weird to see him in it was weird enough to see him trying to do the Arkansas thing. That was that 1 week.
Very
now
strange.
Imagine him going down to Nebraska wearing the red polo and that. I don't think that wouldn't have gone over well. So I think it worked out well for all parties involved. Yeah.
The Arkansas thing was one of my greatest predictions ever because I'm on the phone with Matt Schick, who also was working on Channel 7. And Matt was covering something else when this happens. And so they deflect him and have him drive to Little Rock or Fayetteville. And he drives to Fayetteville. And we're talking on the phone because he knew I covered Arkansas. And I go, dude, wait till he does Woo Pig Suey and wait to see how he looks. And he's like, okay. And then we got the video of the second time. And it was pretty hilarious. Out of all the dysfunction stuff that you've heard coming out of the Bill Moos book, was there anything that really surprised you?
Well, I don't think any of it really would have been that surprised if people had watched your video back in the day. But the weird thing, I didn't dive into a whole lot of it just because of the messenger and it's hard to, it's all believable.
Yeah.
But it's also do you believe the person that's saying it, or is it just latching on to rumors that already exist to try to make himself look better because it's a self-published book and all that. So I think you got to take anything like this with a grain of salt.
Sure.
That being said, there's enough smoke that yeah, a lot of that stuff probably was going on to some degree.
Yeah, and all those people are still alive. Yeah. So if they wanted to counter what he said, it wouldn't be very hard. One of the things I thought was interesting, I mean, outside the Dana Altman thing is that if Chip Kelly comes here, instead of hiring a guy like Frost, I think immediately, they get good quickly. And I don't know if it lasts. Yeah. But there's something about Chip, like when he gets to other people's players, he walks in. It happened at Philadelphia. It happened for a minute at the 49ers. It happened, obviously, at Oregon. I think it had been good for a little while.
Yeah, it's his career trajectory has been so weird.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously one of the hottest things when he had it rolling. And then the stint in the NFL and then back in college and stint back in the NFL. None of it's worked to this degree.
Ohio State win the national championship with him being the offensive coordinator. That's about it.
And that's also the Ohio State, all right, the amount of talent that he had there.
Sure.
How much of what he did at Ohio State and translate to any other job, particularly a head job somewhere else.
Right.
And we see so often these coaches that are kind of ahead of the curve on something, and then everybody adjusts to them, and there's no counter. Like a little bit with the Mike McDaniel situation down in Miami with the Dolphins, where when he first got there, and nobody knew what to do with this, and then they kind of figured it out, and he couldn't figure out a way to move forward, and kind of seemed like Kelly had settled into that. So I don't know that it would have been dramatically different. Maybe there would have been a spike, something early on, but it doesn't seem like he's been able to sustain anything. So
I think it'd have been a short one. Like 2018, I think it'd have been better than they were. Obviously, the Akron thing happens, and Colorado, and all of that happens. But I think it just, what I've seen from him, when he gets another group of players, comes in and immediately he does affect the way they play. But, obviously they lost 6 in a row that 2018 year, and it was all disaster. But that's all in the past now. I want to get into Nebraska. We're taping this on Wednesday. They played on Tuesday night. So you've had the opportunity to watch them go down 16 to Indiana and come back and win. You had the opportunity to watch them against Oklahoma, go down 16, come back to win. Other games, they started slowly. Was there a point during that game last night or Tuesday night where you said to yourself, okay, it's done? Or were you always hopeful?
Well, so I was covering a high school game down in Scott Norris down in that place. So I'm texting Mike Sauter was there covering it for Hurrdat Sports. And he's chatting with Austin Jacobson in a group chat. It's I wish I was there because this is when it looks like they're about to get run off the floor.
Yeah.
And then I checked the score a couple times. I was like, yep, nope, still kind of not going. And then at halftime you see the score and then you see him stretch it out. And then I stopped thinking about it for a bit. And then my phone buzzes and I look down and it's and I forgot what Mike said, but something like, oh, hold on a second, or wait, never mind, or something like that. I'm like, what is going on? I go and look, and it's like a 5-point game. Like, what the heck happened?
Yep.
And then I turned it on for the end of regulation. I turned it on right after the masked bucket, so I was seeing the replay.
So when he misses the free throw? Okay.
Yeah. So I saw the replay of the bucket, but I didn't see. So basically, at the end of regulation, I didn't see that he missed it until pulled it up or whatever. So I got to see a little bit of overtime. I was trying to watch between the two. So I'm just living this live through the text message from Sauter's why am I here? To, oh boy, here we go. We got something here. And then when it slipped away, it's like, never mind. And then they got back into it again, and obviously Purdue struggling at the free throw line
certainly
allowed them to get back into the game. But you still, good teams take advantage of whatever opportunities they have, and Nebraska certainly did.
Jacob Padilla joining us from Hurrdat Sports. It was a little irony because the same thing happened to Creighton and Seton Hall. Yeah. You get a couple missed free throws. Yeah. You could be down 9 with 90 seconds left and still come back.
A weird turnover, and you never know. The thing about those situations is when you dig yourself that much of a hole, everything has to go perfect. Yep. And far more often than not, it's not going to play out that way.
Right.
But when it does, boy, is it a memorable experience for the fans and everybody involved.
What do you think the biggest difference in this team? Obviously, having Rink Mass back is huge. But when you watch them in situations where in the past they would have not been able to rally, what do you think the biggest difference has been in this team? I
think it's just the success they've had and the fact that they've seen themselves do it before. And by nature, the guys that like Sam Hoiberg and the way that he plays and the way that impacts everybody else on the team. He's going to go 100% all game long until the final buzzer. He's not going to quit. And so it's guys, well, if he's going to play hard, then I got to play hard too. And I think that's just kind of the culture they've established where, they're not always going to be a perfect team, but you're not going to see them fold up and give up. And I think that started with just kind of the way this team came together, and then you see the different pieces and how well everything clicked. And the way it came together to produce a successful team. And then they started adding the wins on top of that. You start getting the big wins. And now you really start to have that belief of we can do anything. Like, as long as we do what we're supposed to, we've got a chance to win every single game, no matter what the scoreboard may say at that moment.
Yeah. And then you mentioned what Sam Hoiberg does and the energy he brings. But then this guy Frager, who everybody I talked to when he was coming out of high school all said, yeah, he's talented, but, he's got some other things. I don't know. Did you watch him in high school, and did you expect him to end up being like this?
I thought this was definitely within the realm of possibility, and you started to see all the regional high majors, like, this kid's got the frame, the athleticism, like there's something here. Where, see with a few of the offers that he got, and just seeing some of the posters he threw down in high school. And he was a streaky shooter, but he could hit shots. So I don't. But then you also said, like, the chippiness factor and some of the other stuff. Like, he was kind of one of those. Hey, if he can get out of his own way and do what he needs to do, he's got a chance to be pretty darn good.
Right.
I didn't know that he would be able to have the impact that he's had this quickly in his career, and that's probably the most surprising thing is how, I guess, credit to him and for Nebraska, like the decision to skip your senior year, enroll early, like that's not something. It's not super rare, but it's not common either. Like there's not.
And he couldn't have played his senior year either, really, because he had that injury.
He had the broken
wrist, arm thing,
all kinds of stuff. But just the fact that, I guess, the way he bought into what they asked him to do during the year and learned, all right, this is what we're going to need from you. This is what you need to do to succeed at this level.
Right.
And so you got the kind of the mental reps, the being there, being around it, seeing it firsthand, and then he gets out there and has some success. And now it's like, okay, this does work. Like, if I do what these guys are telling me, then I can be successful and I can really help this team and we can do special things.
The difference this year compared to so many other years for Nebraska, we're now talking about what happens after the Big Ten tournament. We're not even talking about being on the bubble or anything. So in order for them to be able to play well in the tournament, they got Jacobson coming off the bench and Frager. Do they need another person to step? I mean, I know Garcia plays. I'm always yelling, Jerry Garcia, Jerry Garcia. But they had the other kid, Curtis, who came off the bench for that one game when Mass was out. Do they need another body?
It would certainly help. Like, there are all kinds of teams that get by with 6-7 man rotations, but that does add another obstacle, another element that you have to overcome with the legs factor. And when you get to the tournament, the Big Ten tournament, you're playing up to however many games in a week, depending on where your seating is and how far you go. And then in the NCAA tournament, you're playing 2 games in a weekend. So kind of you got to. That's where that can impact that game.
Right.
So it would certainly help them. That is kind of the one area where, like, okay, we had so many things go right for this team, and there are just a few, like, you were hoping to get a little bit more out of this guy or this guy, and obviously Yarosavicius' injury kind of derailed that. That was the guy that you were kind of slotting into that backup big role. And then you've got a guard, a wing, and a big coming off the bench. You got this 8-man group, and you're feeling good about that. With him out of the lineup, now you're trying to, like, Garcia was a guy that he wasn't great where he came from at the lower level, so asking him to be a better player at a higher level is probably asking a bit much. Obviously, Kendall Blue, that hasn't translated the way that you hope. That's another body going from the Summit to the Big Ten. So a couple of those chances they took haven't quite worked out the way they need to. Curtis, I think there's something there, but I just don't know with what he's dealt with, the stop-start with the injuries and the playing, not playing. Hard to know that, like, he's going to get to a place where you can rely on him to give you 10, 15 minutes consistently in the postseason. But I think he probably offers you the highest upside. Garcia's a guy that maybe you try, and if it's going well, you can lead him out there, and if it's not, yank him quick and try to piece something else together. But that is something that I think they're going to have to settle on as we get in postseason. It's like, okay, what in these situations, like what can we do with this bench to maybe give us a little bit more depth in case of an injury too, like we saw.
Sure, definitely.
Even against Michigan, like with the Mass situation, is a team that was still able to persevere and find a way to give themselves a chance in that situation. So even if you have an injury, like they're still have a chance to go accomplish something this program's never done, even if you're not 100% healthy. So that's something they're going to have to kind of sort through down the stretch of the season. Like, okay, who is that next guy? Do we have someone that can settle into that role, or is it just going to be we just have to throw something at the wall and hope that it sticks?
Yeah, Jacob Padilla joining us from Husker Sports here on Let It Fly Show. If Fred needs some advice, he could call Mac, because I remember several times where Mac shortened his bench to 7, 6 even, and was like, look, you guys are playing 35 minutes. Everybody's playing that. So it can be done.
Well, yeah, and part of that, I think, too, was the specific players that were doing that. Like Ryan Kalkbrenner's conditioning for a 7-footer
got much better.
Is just like that's something you don't see in his ability to continue running the floor, playing 35+ minutes. And then Baylor Shireman, like these guys, they prepare for this. He kind of got the feeling like, hey, we're probably going to have to play this way, and those guys knew and they're ready for it. So I don't know. Like you've got probably Sam Hoiberg. I don't know that. Like that dude could probably just run for days. But with Mass and Buchanan, you hope that you can get just enough out of these that you're not overtaxing these guys to play beyond what they already are used to playing. You're going to shorten it a little bit in the postseason just because every possession matters that much more. But you don't want to get to a place where you just got to play these guys 40 minutes and hope, especially for a team like Nebraska, that's where it hurts. A team that relies so much on the 3-point shot and they take so many threes. Like, the legs, you got to have those if you're going to play that way. So that's where it could become a little tricky for them and their playing style.
I think we saw that in the Illinois game. Their legs were just gone.
Yeah.
So you look at where they are, basically a 5-way tie with all these teams having 3 losses. They do get Iowa 2 more times. They got to go on that West Coast trip. But they really don't have another one of those top teams that they're going against. Could you see them still being able to get a 2 seed? Or after that loss last night, even though Illinois also lost on Tuesday night, do you still have a chance to get a 2, or you see more of a 3 seed?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. They definitely, I mean, you got to win out at this point. Sure. And that being said, you're seeing everybody losing. Like, Arizona took their first loss. Obviously, they've got they got to drop a while.
They got to put cushion,
but just in general, like everybody's vulnerable at this point. So you can see the teams you're competing with. Maybe they drop a couple, and if you take care of business, maybe you do sneak up there.
Right.
They're 2-5 against top 10 teams right now. So you've got some good stuff there, but there are probably going to be some other teams that have a little bit more at the top of the resume, knowing that Iowa's the only, like you said, they got them twice, but that's not a top 10 team. That's a top 25 type of team where you get credit for it.
You get credit for going the road one will give them lots of
100%. That'll be really good. But it's not one of those like, we beat Illinois at Illinois. Like Iowa's not going to stack up and be that level of a win at the top. It'll certainly help. But I think some of these other teams, they have more of those top matchups left. Yeah. And so that's part of why it hurt for Nebraska to go through some of the injury, illness, and stuff situations when they did, because those were games that if you really want to make this a season that nobody could have anticipated ever at Nebraska basketball, like they were right there with Michigan. You get full healthy for that game, go toe to toe and see where the chips fall. That would have been really cool. And you get that win, then you're locked in. But now it's the Big Ten conference race going to be tough. The 2 seed going to probably be a little bit tough. But I mean, 3 is the highest program's ever gotten before. So that's still accomplishing something incredible for this season, no matter how the season goes the rest of the way. They've put themselves in a position where they're not dropping below a 4 probably at this point, no matter how the rest of the season goes. So they're in really good position to win 1 or more games.
One thing that helps them a little bit is the weirdness of the Big Ten. So Wisconsin gets that win. So that's a team that obviously Nebraska. Indiana wins a couple games in a row. All of a sudden you're like, well, we beat Indiana. Look, they're playing better now. So and obviously Michigan State's gotten playing better. Illinois is playing as well as anybody until they drop 2. So you never know what's going to happen from week to week. So in terms of the net part of it, it's kind of hard to judge.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's so fascinating, like how to evaluate these conferences as they get larger, because you look at the bottom of the Big Ten and it's rough. Really rough.
It's
rough.
But
you only get to that rough of a cellar because you've got so many teams, and the top ones are beating up on all those teams, and they can't steal any wins.
Well, then Oregon almost beats Purdue.
Yeah.
And they're as bad as anybody in the Big Ten. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird, like evaluating and conference strength and looking at all these. And you've got the Big Ten with 18 teams, whatever. You got the Big East with 11, and the Big 12. They're all kind of at different spots. So it's kind of weird looking at that. But you just this season. It's been fun to watch to see some of the new blood rising up. What Vanderbilt has done this year, obviously Nebraska has been kind of the face of that. But you've had some other teams as well. You've seen some teams kind of like Villanova rise up, and now they've got they're in line to make a tournament feed after a few down years, and see will it get in there and immediately turn that around. That's been a big part of college basketball. So it's been a fun season. It's like you've still got some of the traditional powers up there, but you've got some new blood up there as well that are competing toe to toe with those teams.
Is there a regional location that you would rather see Nebraska get sent to?
I'd probably just as close as they.
So the two are St. Louis and Oklahoma City. Probably Kansas is going to go to St. Louis, I'm guessing.
You got Illinois ahead of them too, right?
But with Kansas, I just think Kansas getting that win over Arizona, maybe the value. But then you have Greensboro is the next close, or Greenville, not Greensboro. Yeah. So those are kind of your closest choices.
Yeah, you just don't want to get sent to the far corner.
You don't want to go to Portland.
Yeah,
Boston.
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that would be a tough way to end this miraculous season of like. That's a big ask for your fans, and that makes things really difficult. So that's I think the important thing in the stretch run here is take care of business.
Sure.
Put yourself in a position where you can get a favorable draw in there. Obviously, you're going to need some help with some of those spots if you want to be able to land really close to home. But it is nice that you've got a few regional areas that like, okay, if we can't get here, then maybe we can get this one. Either one of those. I mean, can you imagine how much red would be in either of those?
Oklahoma
arenas?
City, everybody knows the way there.
Yeah.
It's 7 hours. They've been there many times for many different things. So that would be pretty easy, that one. And obviously St. Louis as well, not as much with that used to be Arch Madness. One of the things about it is Nebraska is sitting there with that loss to Purdue. Will they still get a double bye?
Yeah.
And that's something you obviously want, to get that double bye in the Big Ten tournament. They are a tie, but they have Iowa. They play twice, so they have a chance to pull ahead of Iowa. But there's certainly a chance to get double bye still.
Yeah, you got, 4 teams tied in the loss column with 3 losses right now.
Yeah.
Like that's there's a lot to sort out here
still,
as we close out the regular season. So all Nebraska can do is take care of business and hopefully put themselves in a position to, again, take advantage of what's there.
Yeah, let's talk some Creighton. Obviously, not the season they thought they were going to have. Yeah. Biggest surprise based off of your preseason expectations, either it be a player, the way it's played, or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know that there's a huge, massive surprise. Like the fact that the season has gone this way is surprising. They haven't been able to get more out of it, but without like that, a huge part of that is like, so what we're seeing now is a lot of the weaknesses are stuff that we thought when they started putting together the roster, like, okay, they're going to have to overcome this. Yeah. Like as the practices are going on, all right, they're struggling in these areas. The problem is like the injuries, and there wasn't a whole lot of margin for error when they put this team together because of kind of the overlapping weaknesses and the way the team was built. But once those injuries hit, like Owen Freeman being a non-factor this year, you couldn't have projected that when like he was on his way back to being healthy when they signed him, and then just a freak accident in a pickup game when he's trying to get himself back into shape and get ready to report to Creighton, and suddenly he's out for the entire offseason. So this huge piece that you had planned to build around to replace Ryan Kalkbrenner, you had to spend the entire offseason just imagining what it would look like when you put him back in. You can replicate it. Right. Like they didn't even have a center. Like Jason Green, which turns out those reps
working okay.
Yeah, those reps turned out to be really important because that was never the plan. But he had to play that spot in practice just so they could work on their stuff. And so they didn't anticipate, all right, it's like, all right, we'll get guys healthy. We'll get Kerem Conan in here, get Dimitrievich just to get some bodies in there. Then Jason can go back to where we plan to play him.
Right. And
it didn't quite work. And then so you're getting Freeman back, and now you spent the whole offseason not knowing what it looks like with him out there, not being able to actively experiment. Okay, what works best? And then you had the Jackson McAndrew injury.
Yeah, that was devastating.
And that's another one where preseason it happened, and then he tried to play through it, and it just wasn't working. And so that's your top scoring returner and one of your key starters coming back.
Yep.
And then so you pull the red shirt on Hudson Greer, and he starts to show some things, and then he gets hurt and misses a month, and now he's trying to play catch up and work his way back in. So it's just every step of the way. And then you've got the injuries, the illness, the time some guys have missed. So it's just everything's gone against them to kind of prevent them from potentially overcoming the weaknesses that we saw. So all that piles up to the season that we have. That being said, I think we are seeing that this team, despite their ultimate goals probably being off the table, barring a miraculous run, they're still fighting. Like what they did in that Seton Hall game, especially coming off of the emotional week and how tough that was on everybody in the program.
Yep.
To pull that off and have that moment at the end of the game, like that's what they're still fighting for.
Yep.
Is for those moments to be able to go out and pull off a win like that and celebrate and just have some relief from a moment of or a week of tragedy and heartbreak and not knowing what they can do for their teammate, their brother there. And so like it was pretty cool to see them just mugging Nick Graves on the court and just all the guys that's out there celebrating in the moment. For everything that they've battled through this season. I think that's kind of what they're still fighting for, is try to get moments like that.
So obviously it would require a heck of a run at the Garden to be able to get to where they wanted to be. But if they don't, where they're set up now, there is a choice of whether or not they'd want to go to the Crown.
So it'll be interesting to see, and that's where they're trying to finish too. Is like
Top
right
four,
now,
right?
Yeah, so they reduced the Crown this year. It's from 16 down to 8.
Oh,
so there's only 2 spots for the 3 conferences and then 2 wild cards.
Okay.
So and it goes by net, I believe. So Creighton's got some ground to make up to be one of those.
That's
first
the tiebreaker, is the net.
Okay. I believe that's kind of how they determine. All right, so the top 2 teams in the net that didn't make the tournament, they're automatically in from the Big 12, the Big 10, and Big East, and then there are 2 wild cards that they can take. And so.
So they still are really on the outside.
Yes, they've got work to do even to get to there. So that's the other thing. Like if you want to extend your season, they got to string some wins together and rise up and perform well in order to improve their metrics to give themselves a chance to be among that field. There
is value in whatever postseason because a lot of these guys are back.
Yeah.
And depending on, obviously, you never know what's going to happen with transfer portals, but the way Greer played when we saw him play and the way that Schwartz is playing and McAndrew getting back, you could see them adding a couple pieces, obviously, but you could see this core coming back and being much better next year.
Yeah, and that's part of what this stretch run is about, too. It is looking ahead and seeing, all right, which of these guys can we project into being core pieces for us next year? Which of these guys are really bought into the message that we're sending that are happy where they're at, that believe they've got a bright future within this program. And let's kind of try to showcase those guys, give them chances to get out there and play well and make progress. And then also, again, a guy like Josh Dix, this is his last run.
Sure, right.
And with what he's gone through this season, those guys are going to be fighting for him. So trying to extend his career and give him a chance to still do some special things and make some memories this year. So you got a few factors down the stretch here. Obviously, it's for the Creighton fans, like this isn't something that they're used to, of just kind of being out of the hunt at this point in the season and where their record is. So I can understand how this is. I know there's just a lot of fans that haven't really enjoyed the season. That's not it's not hard to understand. You just got to hope that you have moments like Seton Hall and that they can find something down the stretch that, 1, you can put the pieces together, and 2, build some momentum. And again, like you said, find some of those guys that can carry the program next year as you look to turn it around.
And I left out Owen Freeman, who obviously could come back again. Do you think in any way that there was extra pressure on this team because there is always out there, is this McDermott's last year? Knowing there's a coach in waiting, knowing that he's eventually going to step away. Was there any extra pressure this year, you think?
I don't know that there's extra pressure just because there's so many new guys. There aren't a ton of guys that have been here with Mac for so long. And I think he's built a connection with those guys because that's what he does. And it's why people come to this program. But I think this whole season has all been about just trying to figure it out, trying to piece it together, trying to, like, they're trying to, like, so many of these guys came from losing programs, and they've been battling the entire season to try to build those winning habits that if you haven't been around it before,
right,
it doesn't come as second nature to you. And there are so many plays where you've seen some of these guys where they're really talented basketball players and they've done some great things, but there are just moments where, man, you can't make that play, or you have to make that play. Right. And it's just a split second late, or like guys that have been in the program for years, like Baylor was making that rotation or making that box out and going to get that rebound, like stuff like that, where you just miss, you're just a little late or just a little out of position for guys that haven't, that are still like learning it. And there've been a ton of that. And that's what Mac talked about is all year long. It's like, and with their defensive struggles, it's not necessarily, all right, this one guy is killing us. It's different breakdowns. Like you plug one hole and then you sprout another one somewhere else. Yeah. And that's kind of what it's been. It's been different guys every possession. It just hasn't really, guys haven't settled on. So I don't know that there's any pressure ultimately thinking about McDermott's future. And he's always kind of pushed it off anytime you asked about him or asked about it publicly. And I'm sure these guys want to do well for McDermott, not knowing how long he'll be around, especially the guys that have been here from the start with him, like a Jason Green or whatever. But I think kind of there are more issues close to, like, beyond the big picture. Like they focus on the micro first before worrying about the macro, because they got so much they've been working through.
And of course, Jason Green back again as well next year as well. So in a couple of weeks, less than a couple of weeks, we got spring ball starting. Is there something specifically that you're looking forward to hearing about or seeing from the spring this year, which came as fast as it's ever before?
Yeah. And the spring game is back, so that's fine. Although
March 28th.
Potential conflicts there, so we'll see how that plays out.
If Nebraska makes it to an Elite Eight, yes.
I don't know. It's we're at a point now where I don't know what to make of spring ball, and you want to hear all the right things. Like it's always better to hear good things as opposed to the opposite. Because when you're not pumping the sunshine in the spring, then it's like, oh, that's really bad.
Yeah, right.
But it's hard to know what of that will like translate over to when the bullets are flying and it's live. So I don't know if there's anything this spring that I like, oh, I need to hear this. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, I think, first thing is just kind of the offensive line situation, getting Wade in there and kind of getting the new pieces, and can that solidify things? Because obviously they weren't able to get in a situation with Rayola last year where the offense can operate the way that they had anticipated when you're bringing this guy in. And he fell into Emmet Johnson, and he's gone now. So you can't rely on Johnson making something out of nothing anymore. Like they can be excited about those young guys, but that's not a plan. Oh, we're just going to plug these guys in and they're going to do what Emmet Johnson did. So you got to find a way to dictate terms on offense, and that starts with the offensive line to be able to do what you want to do, as opposed to so often this past season they were having to react, they're scrambling because they couldn't protect long enough to actually do some of what they wanted to do. And then again falling into like Emmet save us.
So, it happened a lot.
So I guess that's probably the area that I'll pay most attention to, is just like, all right, what's going on here? Which of these new we saw with tackle last year?
You're talking
Alabama.
Pritchard.
And kind of how it was like not super encouraging early on. It's like, is he even going to start? And
no,
he's not going to start.
Way.
And will we hear more of that, or are these guys coming in? Are they going to be ready? Are some of the returners, have they made a leap where they can push off some of those guys? So just kind of what that kind of collection looks like with the new leadership in there, the new set of eyes with some of the returners plus the newcomers. I think that's going to be the most important thing, because Calandria, we saw that he can play at this level. Like, he's a veteran. He's played a lot.
He played okay at Virginia.
That's what I was going to say. That I don't know, though, that like he's a superstar that's going to come in here and save you. You need to be able to put him in a good situation. We saw at Virginia. Okay, he played a lot of football. Okay, then you drop down Mountain West and tore it up. But he's still kind of like, all right, how does that translate to the Big Ten? So you need to be in a situation like Rayola had to do too much last year because of the way the offensive line was set up and the way the offense is just working, and things didn't click. You don't want to put in a situation where Calandria is running for his life, and you can't be balanced enough with the running game to let him do what he does really well. So it's always going to be offensive line until they get that to a place where it's reliable and you feel really good about it.
We need a consensus on what we're calling him to. Are we calling him Calandria? Are Are we calling him Tony? Are we calling him Anthony? Are we calling him Ant? Because his nickname is Ant. So what are we calling him?
I guess probably Calandria. Just I don't know him. I'm not gonna.
You don't know him yet? Yeah. I think the Ant is just a great nickname. Look, I had some doubts about his turnovers. Then I found out his nickname was Ant, and I turned all that around.
The one I struggle with there is Anthony Simons being Ant. Like his name is
He's
Anthony.
Not Ant.
Yeah, I don't understand where that's coming.
He should be Little Penny. I mean, that's Anthony, right? That's the way you should go with. The thing we don't talk about enough, the most underrated topic in this entire going into spring, is that Jeep is Gideon.
Yeah, I know.
Pillow Wade. Yeah. I mean, that is the fourth. That means there were 3 other people with that name, which is incredible.
Yeah, that was that surfaced pretty quickly after the news, and that probably made my day. I was like, okay, this is awesome. I immediately went and shared that. Hey, everybody in our chat, we need to know this. Everybody needs to know this information because that is amazing. Although it's always strange when you've got a nickname for someone who already has a great name. It feels kind of like a waste.
It is,
where, like a dude named Jeep that teaches offensive line, big dude, just like okay, that fits, but Jeep stands for Gideon Pillow.
Pillow, yeah. And he's a Southerner, so it's probably Gideon Pillow. Because they don't say pillow in the South, they say the pillow. Put your head on your pillow. So I would be, I would like to ask him that question. Do you pronounce it pillow or do you pronounce it pillow?
I'm sure you probably get a chance.
I will. I hope so. I hope I will. Last thing, we obviously went through the basketball and everything else. You cover a lot of volleyball. And are you surprised with how these 2 professional leagues have been able to both succeed? I mean, I know it's lesser amounts at one place than the other because of the size of the stadium or the arena. But both of them, the last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, they had like 20,000 people watching volleyball in the area.
No, I think these leagues, they read things really well. They try to capitalize on the momentum at the right time. Yeah. Obviously, with Nebraska's been leading the charge but nationwide.
Sure.
Like the interest in volleyball has just continued to skyrocket year after year, and obviously it's
TV ratings going up.
Yeah, and just even at the lowest levels with participation levels, volleyball has been the largest growing female sports, and so you've got more fans just by nature of, hey, I'm playing the sport, I'm going to look up to these athletes, and so now you've got the platform, you've got all these people that are wanting this. And so they were able to take advantage, and you still have kind of the novelty of it within the first few years for for Supernovas and Major League Volleyball, and then year 2 with Love. And it is, I think there's also kind of the different systems and the different approaches kind of adds to that like novelty of it. Like there are people that are probably interested in both because they are different. I don't long term. Yeah. Ultimately we'll see kind of what happens and how I think both sides thing about emerge. Both sides are going to want to try to like, hey, we are the one that are going to be able to take this and run with it. So I don't know how far off we are from a merger, and they've all, I mean, it's completely different. Like the infrastructure for Love versus MLV is so dramatically different in the way they approach things. So I don't even know what a merger looks like if that were to happen at some point, and kind of who takes charge. Which,
well, you take the level of volleyball that's being played in Love,
and some of the and they got some of the biggest names,
and take the show that comes out of what the Supernovas can do, and you put those 2 together. Could be pretty impressive.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting just to follow along to see. I think as long as the interest continues to be there, and they find ways to keep pushing it forward, like you can't just, all right, we're here, this is what it is, because it's not always going to be, oh, this is the new thing. It's like you have to connect with the fan bases and continue to grow this thing. And that's where they are now. It's like, okay, you can only get so far with the new factor. Like, oh, the new shiny toy. Now you've really got to entrench yourselves within the fan bases. And like we talked about, there are a lot of people there that have been calling for this. So we'll see over the next few years kind of how it appeals to the fan bases and where the fans, like there are a lot of people that will just support all of it no matter what. But at a certain point, those are going to kind of be head to head, and you have to choose. All right, maybe they're both playing in Omaha at the same weekend. Are you going to Love, or are you going to the Supernovas? And that's kind of where the split is going to happen when there is some direct competition, because I think right now there are a lot of people that do support just both in general.
Sure.
Because
big events.
Yeah, exactly. It's big events, and you've got people that in both sides, people that you support, that you want to cheer for and everything. So right now, I think that's kind of why we're seeing it work to this degree so far. But ultimately, I think you're probably going to need to have one emerge as, all right, this is the because ultimately you gotta kind of concentrate the talent too to reach the level of the major the other major sports leagues, because like the NBA, best league in the world, like that's the best basketball in the world by far, and obviously NFL, like that's all there is. But all the best talent in the world, like that's, you need to have the best talent in the world for it to get really, really big, and not to be like, oh, this is one of a few different. And then you've obviously got the overseas that are still can offer the money that they do in some of those clubs or whatever, and you're still trying to attract some of those pros away, like keep them in the United States, or even attract some of the best internationals to this country. Like you've got to get to the point where this is like somebody is the best version of volleyball for the long-term staying power. But we're kind of not to that point now. It's still very much a feeling out process, I think.
What round does Nebraska get to in basketball?
We'll give them Sweet 16. Just kind of, I'll split the difference. They're going to get their first win, and I mean, whoever they're going to play in that second round most likely will be of a caliber of teams that they haven't lost to yet this year. Once you start to get in that Sweet 16 lead, that's where you start running into the teams that they struggled with. And I mean, they've obviously competed with them. They're good enough to go beyond that point. But to go from 0 wins ever to Elite 8, Final 4, I don't know if I'm quite there yet. So I'm kind of taking the coward's route, just take the middle ground. But that's what I'll go right now. It's Sweet 16 for their first run, and we'll see kind of where they can take the program moving forward, if they can capitalize off that.
Did FAU get their first win and go to the Final Four?
That's a good question. I've never paid.
For some reason in my brain, I remember that FAU was a team that hadn't had a win. Then they get. I don't know. Maybe they did.
I hadn't paid attention to them until they made that run.
I have to look that up, but I have no idea. Jacob, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having me, Michael.
All right, special thanks to Jacob Padilla for joining us here at the Let It Fly show, coming down to the bar. Short notice, too, because I had someone else that I had hopefully was going to be on the show. That ended up getting canceled, so Jacob filled in at the last minute. We appreciate him doing that. Lots of basketball to talk about. Again, spring football getting started. We'll have a lot of that coverage on Let It Fly show as we go forward in the spring. Lots of questions to be answered among that football team and the program overall, so we'll be doing that as well. Again, thank you to Jacob. Thank you to Caleb, who produces the show. We appreciate that. Mike Allen, executive producer of the show, and all the folks over at Stable Grade that helped put the video together. And special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Bud Light, making it easy, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what sports on TV, they make it easy to drink and easy to enjoy while you are checking out those sports. And if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe, hit those buttons. If you're checking us out on Spotify or Apple or wherever else, like and subscribe as well. Get you the podcast right away, and it helps us out as well. Thanks for taking the time and coming on with us, checking out Let It Fly show. We'll see you next week.